Hey guys, and Depeche Mode fans, alternative fans, synth pop fans. I am going to be talking today about some new Depeche Mode records that I picked up. And I apologize for my voice and my stuffiness. I've had a cold that I've been trying to fight off this week. So I did take some cold medicine. Hopefully I can make my way through this video without too much difficulty, but I appreciate you hanging in there with me. So recently I have purchased some remastered 180 gram Depeche Mode records. These are the first Depeche Mode records that I had on vinyl. So I am happy to have these. They sound tremendous. They actually are really great fidelity on my turntable, so I was really pleased about that. I had them on CD and cassette. Happy to add them to my vinyl collection. The first one is their debut album. This is Speak and Spell. This, of course, was when Vince Clarke was the chief singer-songwriter. He was when Vince Clarke was the chief songwriter of the band. Dave Gahan on vocals, Andy Fletcher on keyboards. Also, Martin Gore wrote one song, I believe, on here as well. But basically what you have here is the earliest permutation of Depeche Mode, very much synth pop, almost a cross between the synth pop that Depeche Mode would be known for and Yaz, because Vince Clarke would go on to Yaz and then would go on to Erasure. But you've got the singles New Life and Just Can't Get Enough and Dreaming of Me, which were pulled off this album. It's really good. There's some tracks on here that are a bit insubstantial. What's Your Name is one of them. Big Muff is an instrumental, which is okay. You know, Boys Say Go just really sounds very dated. But nonetheless, it is still a very enjoyable album, and this comes with a gatefold. And these all have essays by Daniel Miller, who was their producer back in the early 80s. This is what the back looks like. The inner sleeve. And that is what the label itself looks like. And it really is an enjoyable sounding record even now, especially in the remastered form. But it is, you know, you'll recognize Depeche Mode absolutely, but you'll also hear traces of Yaz in the sound as well. Vince Clarke would leave after this album. He did not seem to stick around very long. He would go on to make 2 albums with Yaz and then leave Yaz and then form Erasure. But Depeche Mode were determined to carry on without Vincent Clarke, and they resolved that they were going to be even bigger than they were with Vince at the helm. And so they are down to a trio for this album, which is A Broken Frame. And this has See You on it was a single, and also The Meaning of Love were both singles off here. I really love the album cover artwork on this. I think this is very cool. And then they've got another version of it on the back. But now Martin Gore has stepped in as the songwriter. He sings on 1 or 2 tracks on here, I don't recall, but Dave Gahan handles the rest of the vocals. This is the gatefold, another essay by Daniel Miller. And then the inner sleeve, you've got some lyrics, another photo with the covers theme on it. And this is what that label looks like. So I enjoy this one a bit more than the previous one. I really enjoy Leave in Silence. That was also a single. That's a great track. You've got My Secret Garden. So 2 really strong tracks right out of the gate. And I think the singles are fine. I like Never or Shouldn't Have Done That. I think that's a real clever track on here as well. And Satellite, I think, is pretty cool. So it's an enjoyable album. They're moving towards the more recognizable Depeche Mode sound with that one. And shortly after that album was, well, actually it might have been before the album was recorded, but he didn't actually play on the album. But Alan Wilder joined the band, a multi-instrumentalist. And he would actually be a full member of the band for their third album, which was Construction Time Again. Another very cool cover. I like this one a lot. This one has Love in Itself, More Than a Party, Pipeline, and one of their biggest hits to date, Everything Counts. And 2 Minute Warning, Shame, The Landscape is Changing, which is actually an Alan Wilder composition. Told You So, which is a great track. And then is the name of the track. This is The Gatefold, which these pictures would be the cover of the US compilation, People Are People. And this has lyrics on this one as well. And I really like the theme and the artwork on this one. Very cool. And people don't give Alan Wilder enough credit, but Alan Wilder really helped shape their sound. He was really a force in the studio. He is one of the biggest reasons, I think, that they actually, I mean, apart from Martin Gore, obviously he was a great songwriter, but Alan Wilder, I think in terms of their sound, he was the most disciplined member in the studio. He would stay later than all the others just to make sure that he got the mixes right. So I think he really deserves a lot of credit. And I feel that's one of the reasons why I don't enjoy their albums as much since he left. After the Songs of Faith and Devotion, I just haven't, I mean, songs after that have been okay, but I think if Alan Wilder had stuck around, I think they would have been even more special than they already were. So, fast forward, I did not get Some Great Reward because I already had that on vinyl, not the remastered version, the original. But the next one is Black Celebration. Some consider this to be Depeche Mode's best album. This has Fly on the Windscreen, A Question of Lust, A Question of Time, Stripped. So a lot of really great tracks, but a darker album than anything that they had put out before. But I think that's one of the reasons why it is so popular. And Martin Gore kind of came into his own on this album as a songwriter, and Dave Gahan is singing with a lot more confidence than he had on previous records. You got Alan Wilder again being that taskmaster and just really the creative force in the studio. This is The Gatefold. This photograph, of course, was used on the UK, the singles compilation, and Catching Up with Depeche Mode in the US. And strangely, this has a clear sleeve. It doesn't have a cardboard sleeve like the other ones do, but this is what the label looks like. And the one thing that's odd about this is that, well, not odd, it's how the UK track listing, it conforms to the UK track listing, but the song But Not Tonight, I'm so used to that closing out the album because it's on the cassette and it's on the CD as the last track, but not on the original UK, and so therefore not on this vinyl. But I do miss it. I wish they had included that. But yeah, I would say this is my favorite Depeche Mode album, but it's got a lot to recommend it, and definitely I think it was their best album to this point. And then what I consider to be one of their best, on certain days it's definitely my favorite, is Music for the Masses. Great cover artwork here as well. This, of course, has Never Let Me Down Again, the first video I'd ever seen of Depeche Mode on MTV. I don't think I'd seen people or just hadn't paid attention to that video yet. But the one that really grabbed me in my first introduction to Depeche Mode, where I really got into Depeche Mode, was this album. Has Strangelove, obviously, and Behind the Wheel as well. This is also a gatefold. Got some photographs, and it has some lyrics. The essay, the Daniel Miller essay, is actually on the inner sleeve here. And then you've got some more pictures that were from the album cover photograph session. But yeah, Music for the Masses is great. It's got some interesting, it almost reminds me a little bit of some of the, like the Pink Floyd, where they would put little bits in between the songs, some talking, just some weird like kind of effects that just kind of segue the songs. But great album. And then, of course, the big one, the one that catapulted them to fame, stardom in the US, Violator, which is probably my favorite Depeche Mode album. But this, I remember Personal Jesus being the first single off of this, and this was, Personal Jesus was released in the fall of 1989, and one of my friends had the 12-inch of that. I remember being so excited when I saw that there was going to be some new Depeche Mode. Ran out, got the single, and then in the winter of 1990, the Enjoy the Silence single was released. I got that on cassette. Just super anxious for this album to come out. What was it going to sound like? Everything that had been released to this point had been real catchy, and there even the B-sides, Dangerous, which was the B-side for Personal Jesus. Alma was like, is that gonna be on the album? It sounds like it could be. That was a really great track. And then the album came out in the spring of 1990, and I think Policy of Truth, that single, was released shortly after. But I remember the morning that this album was released, I was buying everything on cassette back then. I didn't have a CD collection, I didn't have a CD player. So I was living on campus at Oakland University. And I remember getting up early. I don't know if I skipped class or not, but I went down to the record store, and it was in like a mall, a mini mall kind of a deal. And I remember like waiting outside for the record store to open, and just like, I can't wait to get Violator. And I got it, and one of the first things that struck me was the fact that it didn't look like the other cassettes. Like the back of it, it had like the holes punched where the thing that keeps the CD in place were.